gang. Twirl, gang, gang. Gang. Twirl, gang. Twirl, twirl, gang. Twirl, gang. Give me that driver, I let it bang. Twirl, gang. Twirl, gang. Give me that wedge, I'm taking that aim. Twirl, gang. Twirl, gang. Twirl, twirl. If you ain't twirling, hitter, you lame. You sick of the twirling, hitter, you gang.
Welcome back, man.
Yes, sir.
Thanks
back
for
again.
Back again. We were just talking about EMU. This is kind of like an EMU stop a little bit, so we'll kick this one off. Say congratulations to Andy Walker. He's been on the pod a couple times, and he's one of the best, man. It seems like good things going at EMU. You guys got a whole new facility down there, so it's. Did you get a chance to check it out before you left, Cam?
Yeah, I had a semester with it.
Okay,
for
nice,
sure.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. It's good stuff.
I like it. I'm bumping
Very nice.
my cord. I got a new cord. Everything's going well for the pod, man. I got a brand new cord after 190 something episodes. It was due. So.
Oh, finally.
Yeah, finally, man.
But yeah,
so what's good for you? It's hot. It's humid in our area. I'm drinking water here. It's hot. I've been on the road all morning. But how's things for you, man?
Been good. Yeah, just kind of digesting everything that's happened the last month. There's been a lot in a short period of time, and yeah, like 4 professional events in now, so it's I feel like I've got a bit of grounding and understanding of what I need to do to play well and play at a consistent level that I want to be at. And most of it's just doing a better job at being my own friend, to be honest. And
yeah,
it's not really the results stuff, because I know what I can do there when I'm thinking well and playing well. There's nothing lacking in that regard. It's just freeing up a little bit and going out and just playing golf like I know how, and enjoying it. So I'm excited for this next little chapter, because I really I understand what I can't do to myself anymore. So it's good. It's refreshing, but it's also, it's been tough. It's been a tough month for sure, but it's definitely what I needed, even though it was painful. Like
right.
The first, said to my trainer, just because like a lot of those pros on tour are, go through the same thing, like missing a lot of cuts to start. Like it doesn't mean I have to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's what's painful for me is like I don't want that to be my script. I want it to be different, but you can't. Got to let go of that control and learn from every experience a little bit. Take more things from it than just on to the next, or let's go get the next, or we need to play well at the next. It's more, what can we take from what just happened and learn to not do those things again, or do them less frequently. And that's kind of where I'm at, just trying to take a little bit more from each experience, not get so wrapped up in I missed the cut, or how far off was I, or what areas do I need to really get after. It's more just like learning from what happened internally that kind of caused some of those things. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, and in golf too, like we were talking about how some things are like out of your control completely. Not always, but it sounds like you and I, when we kind of like last chatted, we were trying to hit that impossible chip shot at the practice facilities on Saturday. So it sounds like a lot has changed. You've had a lot of time to like think about it, but you take away something from each time you play. I think we all do, and it sounds like you're in a better mind frame now. I have this like question I want to ask you, and then like we can kind of get into chatting a little bit more. But like, what is it actually like playing on the PGA Tour? Like, if you can take that question however you want, but like, how would you answer that one, Cam? It's a tough one, man. That's a tough one.
It's like
if you were to, okay, so say you and I aren't having this conversation on the podcast. We're just like, walking through the mall or something like that. Somebody comes up, we're talking about golf, and you're like, oh, I played like the Canadian Open 2024. And somebody says to you, like, what's it like playing on the PGA Tour? How would you kind of respond to that one?
Yeah, I would say it's just like any other round, except your heart rate's way more elevated the whole time because
Right.
it's so exciting. I'd say that's the best way to put it. It's the most exciting thing you'll ever do. Um, and probably why it's been tough like the downturn of that, and well, not the downturn, but more of um the month after coming
Managing
down from that.
expect I think if I can hop in, man, I think it's like managing like the expectations after that too, right? So like that's a
Mhm.
really high point in your career. You'll be back there, like we talked about it. You'll be back there, but it's like it's such a huge point in your career. You're the
Yeah, for sure.
low Canadian tied with Mike Weir and I think was it David Hearn after day one?
Yeah, I think Hearn was one ahead of me, maybe.
No, you were the low Canadian man after day one. You and Mike Weir.
Oh
And
yeah.
David Hearn. I think the three of you were tied. Maybe David Hearn was one back of you guys. So obviously, like there's some expectations there. Like things are happening, going like pretty well, and then if you don't make the cut, it's like it's not like you didn't play well or anything like that. It's not like we were kind of when we were talking, you were kind of like you were locked in on like you didn't chip the ball much, like you putted a little bit, and you could have done these things differently and stuff like that. Do you still think is that still like your same outlook? Like, are you still thinking about like shot by shot, or are you thinking like, okay, well, this was kind of like the big event. This is how I'd prepare differently. Is there any other thought process that you have now, Cam?
Yeah, no, but yeah, going back to your original question, I would just say, yeah, it's like anything. It's like what you would feel in any tournament you played. If anybody's played a tournament, like they know how that all those feelings that come up. But it's I would say just kind of two or three times that, in the sense of everything that goes on in your body is that much more
Yeah.
uh, emphasized. So I would say that's I found it cool because I'm pretty aware of my body and what's going on. So I found it very interesting, like how fast your heart's going and the stuff you have to do to relax. And I enjoy that stuff. So, and I enjoy, that's exactly where I want to be. So, but yeah, no, it's different now for sure. I would say just in the last week, it's probably my perception's changed a bit on it. I think it was hard for me to just get over just the sheer, um, just the pain from being that close. Because I really didn't feel like I had my best stuff with my iron play that week at all. But I hung in there with my short game, and I really just fought really well. And I just the last nine was really painful because I really felt like I got in my own way a bit. But I got in my own way just because I didn't get back to my breathing. Like that's kind of the key for me, in a sense. So that's more of my outlook now, is how can I do a better job at resetting and recentering on my process, when things start to heat up, like when I'm 7, 8, 9 under trying to qualify for a Corn Ferry event, or when I'm playing a state open and I'm trying to do, or I'm trying to just stay calm on the final day when I'm in the mix and stuff like that. And I think that's the most valuable lessons that I took from it. And reconnect, like realizing that I'm always there for myself, even though it might feel like things are, really out of control. Like they're not. And like the only person that can really judge you, like nobody's gonna judge me as hard as I judge myself.
Right.
So so that's the biggest thing I took away, was like, stop being so hard on yourself. It's like it's a huge accomplishment what you did. And um you got a lot of people that are proud of you, so you should try to be proud of yourself too. So that's sort of the perception that I'm really trying to embrace from that whole experience. And something that it's I think it's been hard for me to. I've always just been go go go, like to try to accomplish things, and that'll give me a sense of validation. So I have to shift that a little bit from that to, you know, we don't need we don't need the results to feel validated. Like let's just feel validated from the work and the accomplishments that we've already made. Um, and then we won't feel like every tournament or certain shots are just end all be all, because that's just not the case. Like, I'm just starting my career, and I know that I'm going to be back there. It's just a matter of being really patient. So that's sort of the takeaway. It's not just like those 3 or 4 moments that I really wish I had back. That would make the difference, because at the end of the day, like, I played pretty well that day. I really don't think it was my day. I had a couple really bad lip outs, and I had just a couple moments that probably don't typically go that way, but that for whatever reason the game the game decided it was going to go that way that day. So
The
it was
golf
my
gods.
reaction to it.
Yeah, the golf
Yeah, the
gods we
golf
all
gods,
talk about.
whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's but at the end of the day, like, I hit like 20 greens out of 36, so you can only you know you can only hide from that for so long, and it's tough to tough to hang in there, and I hung in there really well for you know pretty much the whole time. Like, 30 holes, 34 holes, 32 holes, however you want to look at it,
Yeah.
with sort of that little of offense, in the sense, sort of relying on my short game and relying on um you know being really patient. So it's not like I don't know how to do those things. I do them really well. So I'm trying to just really build confidence off that, instead of saying, "Oh, you're so close, you're so close," because
Right.
that's been the toughest part, is hearing that from people. But
Well,
they're just happy for me.
well, yeah, and I think like people like myself, when we're kind of talking about that, we're not really aware of like what you're feeling or what you're doing in that moment, really, right? I guess
Mm-hmm.
if that's the best way to put it. We've never been in that elevated position where it's like, you know, you're kind of accomplishing something that you've thought about trying to do your whole life, right? So, not a lot of us get to that point. Um, like our club match play, like I was telling you about earlier, is a little bit different, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so are you talking when you're talking about like the mental approach? We've talked about this a little bit before. Are you trying to like work something into like a pre-shot routine? Or are you talking about like a bigger picture, like how you're approaching events, and maybe not even events, but just like your career, really, like how you're approaching like your game?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. The biggest thing for me is being present in my pre-shot routine
Right.
when it comes down to results and like the correlation there. So if I'm not present and focused on what I'm doing in my pre-shot, it makes it really hard for me to commit to shots.
Well, I think
Or
I
commit.
ask you that, Cam. I don't mean to cut you off, but I ask you that because like so many of us like golfers struggle with that. Like, you don't hit the shot that you want to, and then like the next time you go hit, like it's kind of like when you go hit that subsequent shot, it's hard to forget the shot before, and
Right, right.
and then you get into this like spiral, and before you know it, it's like your round's kind of done or whatever it is, right? So you like this is how you make a living, so you can't afford to do that. So I guess like I'm kind of asking like how you are preparing that, like that whole big picture of it,
Mm,
right? Starting with that pre-shot routine, and then like I said, kind of like working it into like your game as well. Obviously you have like a mental coach and stuff that you're working with, but I'm kind of curious how you're kind of taking that and making that a success for you.
right. Yeah, so I train it in practice. I focus. I run my pre-shot routine a lot in practice. I would say like 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I'm just doing block practice, so I won't do it. But a lot of time, and most of the time when I'm putting, because I find that if you're just hitting putts, then it's good for like getting a feel. But to simulate like a game like situation, you have to go through the same thoughts and the same process every time. So I find that works best for me is just less reps but more quality. So that's how I train it. And then off the course, it's mindfulness stuff and meditation, and like letting go of like expectations, or like letting thoughts pass through, because that's one thing I do really well when I play well, is like, I don't know, I think people have this perception that pro golfers like just block all that stuff out and like don't think about it, but like every single one of them, or 95% of them, all of us think about all the same stuff you guys like do, like that everybody does. Like, don't want to mess this shot up. Don't, there's a lot of people watching, like, but those are just thoughts. And like, that's the thing that a good mindfulness or a good mental coach will teach, is that thoughts are just thoughts, and they're not you, and you are your process and your routine and those things that are solid that you can come back to. And that's why when you see, that's one thing I learned from watching uh Bobby Mack come down the stretch there. um he was very solid in his breathing and his routine, like from the 10th hole till the 18th hole on the back nine. And it's very, like, I timed it, it's like the same time every time. And it's that kind of stuff that can bring, amateurs from like poor to decent, and from decent amateurs to quite good. And then it's the stuff that I need to work on just to keep refining. And so I don't, uh, like you say, sort of spiral when
Yeah.
things aren't going my way, or when I'm having a tough stretch of golf, because you're going to have tough stretches of golf. It's especially in a career, doing it. So for me, it's that's one thing that I have a hard time grasping, is that just that fact that you're not going to play solid every round, even though it feels like I have the ability to.
It's so marginal too, right? Like the game is so marginal. Like it's like I was on 17 there, like when we said hello, when you were walking up following Bobby, and it's like there was so many approach shots that I would see hit, and like if they land, in spot X, they're great shots. If they land in spot Y, 2 feet to the left of that, it's like gonna roll funnel down the back or whatever it is, right? So the game is like so cruel in that sense that you can be playing well and not have good results. That can happen too. Do you think that guys or girls like on the LPGA or the PGA Tour that are kind of there, like, so take Scotty Scheffler, Nelly Korda, like, are they just doing that aspect of the game better? Because now that you've been there, you've been on the range, like, you go out and you play with some of the players that are on the PGA Tour, you realize, like, you have the ability to hit those shots like they do. You're, you're able to hit them as frequently as they are. So it's like, do you think that some players are maybe doing that better? Like, that was always kind of a thought with Tiger's career. This is sort of like a layup of a question, if you will, if I consider Tiger. But do you think there's players like, let's take Tommy Fleetwood. This is like a great example. So like Tommy seems to always be there, but he hasn't like won yet. But he's always there, right? One of the best players in the world, top 10 player in the world probably right now. And like, do you think he's just doing this? Does he have like a good mental approach, like a better mental approach than, say, Max Homa or somebody like right now who's got all the skill in the world, but like, is kind of there, not there sometimes? You understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I understand. I think if I were to take a shot in the dark, I would say yes, but I would also say, like, you could say the same thing when Tommy's not playing well
Yeah.
and Max is. So I would say they're at a similar level, because
Yeah, Max
both of
Homa's
them.
probably not the best example. I probably
Yeah,
could think of a
he's
better.
got a pretty good.
Yeah, I could
He's got a
probably
pretty
think
good
of a
mental
better
game.
name than that. Like, but I just thought of somebody who's had like maybe a couple struggles like recently, but
Maybe like Nate Lashley or something.
yeah, like somebody
Like
who's
somebody
like,
who plays really well sometimes,
yeah, he's
and
like 20
other times
deep,
doesn't.
20 deep 2 weekends ago or something like that, and then sometimes maybe you're kind of missing the cut or whatever, right? Like, I don't want to say somebody like Kiz, because like Kiz is like kind of like his game's not the same as where it was like a few years ago. Gary Woodland's had a ton of things happen in his life, so it's like hard to kind of pick that out. But I don't know, John Daly. I guess John Daly's like the prime example of it. Like, he can hit any shot that anybody wants to ever hit. He rolls it really well. It's just like his mental game wasn't like really there. So I guess that's kind of the idea, is like, as you're trying to work on yours, you know, now you get to stand on a range beside a guy like Tommy Fleetwood and say like, shit, I can hit those shots. Like, you think your game's like there? Is there much difference? Like, you can be honest. Is there much difference between your game now and some of the elite players in the world?
I mean, I don't
Physically, say physically, like,
physically no. Like I drive it, I drive it very well, and I would say the week to week, I would say yes for sure. Um, I would say like they don't have as many rounds where they have to rely on the short game as much.
okay,
That's why it transfers well week to week, and that's kind of the difference between where I'm at. No, I was hitting it a bit better with my irons last year. So I probably would have answered that question a bit different 8 months ago, but I would say like if I got my iron play to like, 10-20% better, to where I'm giving myself like the equivalent amount of looks that I need to, then that's sort of the difference, I would say, because I I putt pretty well consistently, and I like to think like I'm driving it pretty well. So I'm gonna have enough opportunities to score. But that's, I would say, the difference that um like watching like Adam Scott on the range for a bit and stuff like that. It's just the consistency of the flight. Um, I would say that was the most impressive, and one thing that I definitely think like needs to improve for me, but it's not far off.
right.
It's just sort of it's just one of those things that needs to get slightly better, and I'm going to then everything else sort of clicks from there because you don't have as much pressure on your short game, and and then you don't get as worn down from having to grind as much because you're giving yourself ample opportunities. Like that's the difference between a guy like Scotty's game and my game. Like he hits 14 to 16 greens around, whereas I'm hitting 10 to 14
He's
or whatever it
yeah,
may
and
be.
he's finding ways to hit it like inside 15 feet all the time too, right? So like that's where it's got to be like with him. I don't know. He kind of was like fast tracked if you think of like Scotty specifically, but it's like it's got to be like experience too and repetitions, right? Like you think of Adam Scott, like he's been there hundreds of thousands of times hitting those shots now, right? So
Oh yeah, it's the same.
yeah,
It's all the same, and that's why it's tough to like compare, because one, it's the enemy of joy, and
yeah,
two, it's like um, I'm 3 events into my career, and those guys are Scotty's been out there since 2020 or 2021 or something,
yeah,
um, and been pro for a few years before that, since 17 or something like that.
yeah. So
Um,
you know he's even a couple hundred events deep really by now, right? So
yeah, exactly. That's a lot of events.
yeah, yeah. So
So
it's kind of hard to draw comparisons with yourself standing beside somebody like Tommy Fleetwood or something like that, but just being able to
yeah,
find that
but I
confidence and
think,
stuff, right?
like you say, it's all comes down to I think week to week, like you say, like the consistency players that aren't winning but they're there all the time, and they got the other guys. Like I don't know, that stuff just comes down to what they're doing well in their games. Um, I think like most of them think pretty well in a sense, and like
Yeah, I think that's kind of what
you
I've.
just don't see them react to a whole lot because they just know they have that innate self belief, and they don't have to lean into other people as much because they have everything inside. And I think that's the key for me um to playing at that level all the time is just leaning into my like what I know and the tools I have in my toolbox, not always needing to reach out to other people and feel like I need to talk to someone. Like sometimes it's important to do that stuff, but it's like, yo, like you know what to do here. Like
Yeah,
let's just, and I think that's the difference is those guys just like, okay, well, we got to work on this. And this sometimes a lot of their people that say, no, like you're not, that's not it. But usually they know what they got to work on. They work on it and they go home. And but they shut it off because they're not worried because they know they're going to show up for themselves. That's the biggest difference,
Yeah, Wyndham
I would
Clark
say.
did like a really good job at explaining that. Like obviously it is mental coach and stuff, but then he talked about how he kind of got to the point of where he has to have that self-belief, which is ultimately what's made him a major champion now, right? So like it's pretty cool, man. It's just I think it's really cool to almost see the different tiers and kind of where you are now and like where we were on that Saturday to thinking about like, oh, I wish I would have like putt this one to like now it's like a whole different thought process of how, you know, you'll be back there and then you'll have that experience to draw from it, right? And
Right.
see how you feel, right? So I don't want to take up too much of your time, Cam, but can we see what's going on in the next little while? We're still fairly early in the season. What do you got coming up over the next couple of months or so?
Yeah, I got heading out west to Colorado for Corn Ferry Monday. And then I got the Colorado Open qualifier the next day. Then I'm playing some All Pro Tour stuff, some Toronto Players Tour stuff at the end of the month. Well, hopefully not, because I'm doing the America's Mondays, so
Right.
hopefully be playing those. I guess the next 3 Mondays after.
Yeah, yeah, because that would be.
Um,
I'm
yeah,
working on a couple things. I was actually supposed to be at those events, but I got unfortunately like in my other work life, I have a couple things coming up for the Ottawa would be the last week of July, I guess, and then into the August long weekends, the Windsor. So you're gonna try and do both of those ones,
yeah, I'll do Quebec, Ottawa, Windsor.
right? Quebec right before, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so yeah, and then just some Dakotas tour stuff possibly, and then playing like ECPT in uh August. I'll play the 3 or 4 events out there, and then Sault Ste. Marie Invite Dakotas tour, and then going out west to do some Henderson or Asher tour stuff at the end of the month. And then yeah, so it's a busy couple months, but I'm excited. Lots of opportunity to show some patience and go play some good golf.
Busy time, man. Really busy time. So, just before I let you go, how has things changed since, like, how has your game or like how has golf changed for you since playing in the Canadian Open?
Um, I think I've definitely gained confidence. I think it's been it's an interesting question because I feel like you say it's been a lot of expectation management
Yeah.
that wasn't really there before because I don't know, like I've had some special rounds in my career, but it's been, to step up for yourself like that early in your career. I feel like it's it's tough to not expect a lot out of yourself. But I would say that's the biggest thing is it's made me much more aware of when I'm being too hard on myself,
Right.
which is before it was like sometimes I would just be hard on myself. I wouldn't really know why or how I'm doing it, but I've gained a lot of awareness, which is a really good thing because if you're not aware of that, then you're going to beat yourself up without even knowing it. So I think that's how it's changed the biggest is like, yeah, I'm being too hard on myself. That's okay. Like let's just be curious about it and try to have a good next shot. And I think it's just made me that much more because when you see your game at that level and to perform the way I did, um, you know how things work, like from a functional and from a process standpoint. So then it's just about managing uh, everything else really well. And like, I think that's something that is coming, which is really exciting. But it's like it's golf. Like it's you got to be really patient with it. But that's the biggest thing that I've had to be more patient with myself, which you'd think it'd be the opposite. Like, oh, you you accomplish something really major, you're just going to be confident all the time now, or you're just going to feel, like, oh, nothing matters, like shrug everything off because you know what you can do. But like that's just not the nature of the beast, or at least not in my case. Like it's almost the opposite. It's like I have to be more compassionate with myself because I know what I can do, but I also know how difficult it can be sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm not in it for a year or 6 months. Like this is a career for me, so it's yeah, it's I guess there's a lot that's came from it. So it's definitely just made me a little more hyper aware of what's going on internally, and when I'm not enjoying the game, I feel it that much more.
Yeah.
And when I need to just step away and take a day off, that's also something I've learned from that whole experience, because you can definitely experience mental burnout after something like that.
For sure, man.
So
Like
yeah,
it's just a game too that can be like so mentally draining too, even to like myself and like it's just a game where I've heard this quote a few times lately, and like it's not a specific quote, but it's about how like so, you know, morning conversation with Cam Kellett, low Canadian after day one of the RBC Canadian Open, and like you can go out and hit a shot and I can hit the same shot. Like I can go and hit a shot and have the same result. Like but I can't do it every time. Like I can't.
right.
Like it's just not there. Like I don't practice. I don't have enough. Like I literally have been to the range this many times this year. Like it's just but sometimes I can go in golf and hit that. So like I can't go as hard as I try. I can't go like even Bryce, who's played like hockey professionally and stuff, can't go skate like Connor McDavid and stuff. It's just like we can't shoot the same way. We can't like I can't play like Michael Jordan played or something like that. But in golf, sometimes you can have the same result as like an elite player like yourself, or I could hit the same shot sometimes that Rory can hit, or the same putt, or something like that. Like you give me enough tries, and I'll drain one of the ones that Nick Taylor made last year, right? So like, I think that's where golf can be very difficult for people that are kind of at my level now too, because we have this like inability to manage expectations like you're talking about. It's so hard, man, because sometimes it can be so good and it can be so polarizing and so much fun, and then other times you need to take a day off, like you said, right? So when it's your livelihood and when it's your career, that's smart thinking, man, because sometimes you need to do that. But have you since the event, have you had any conversations, any text message conversations or anything with anybody that you're kind of like pinching yourself, or you get offered a place to stay or something like that? Any cool stuff like that, Cam?
No, not really, to be
No.
honest. I've
I guess you're
developed some
there,
more
like,
connections.
yeah.
I developed some more connections through it, and definitely gained some support some from especially around town here. Like people are very supportive and come up and say, it was awesome cheering you on, and
Yeah,
look
that's so
forward to the
cool.
next one and stuff like that. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because like you're well known before, just from playing for so long locally, but like when everybody knows who you are, it's in your city, it's pretty special because you feel like you have that much more to work for, and you have that many more people supporting you,
Yeah.
that are actually like going out of their way to reach out and stuff. So that's been probably the most special part to me, is really embracing that, because I think it's different when you have just your support system internally, versus like when you can really feel like everybody's rooting you on. You really, to me, it doesn't feel like extra pressure. It really just feels like love and support from everybody that's known me and seen my struggle and seen my journey growing up. So I think that's been the coolest part, of it all. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next part of the journey.
It's cool too to even like think like, hey, like, and I mean this, like, I find this kind of, I don't know, like I talk to people through the pod all the time and stuff like that, and always find somebody will post, be like, oh, I have like 10,000 followers or something like that. I always like find that to be a bit strange, where I always think like, oh, we got like people like listening, like we had like 1,000 people listen to that episode or something like that, right? Where it'd be kind of cool for you because you're like, oh, like I actually like, it's kind of neat. I got a bit of a fan base now that's like wanting to see me play well and wanting to watch me golf and stuff like that, right? So we were all like, you were in that position one day, like watching, you know, whoever you enjoyed watching growing up and stuff like that. We've all done that with other sports and stuff. It's kind of cool, man. So I think the fanboy in me was asking, like, if you're texting with, like, Rory or anything afterwards, saying, like, what's up kind of thing. But one day, man, one day.
Yeah, no. He's busy.
He's
busy working.
Yeah, he's working. He's working weekends and stuff, too. So, Cam, this was great, man. Let's hopefully we connect. I think you'll be in Toronto. You got to be in Toronto at September, is it, right? So get in one of those Mondays, play well, get some status for the rest of the year, and then, yeah, hopefully I can come see you. I don't know if I'm going to make it out to Ottawa or Windsor. I'm hopefully trying to pick one or the other. So if I can, I definitely will. I know you'll have somebody, at least the Windsor way, on your bag. You'll have somebody out there. Connor will come out and carry the bag, won't he? They'll let him stop bending some sheet metal. So, but yeah, if you're around the area or whatever it is, man, let's get together and have something to eat or something.
Yeah,
but,
sounds good.
Yeah, congrats, man. Glad the head's in a great space. It sounds like really good. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what comes up for you too, man. This is beginning of a journey, man. I'm grateful that we've been able to kind of create a friendship through this. I appreciate you coming on and telling us what it's like to like actually play on the PGA Tour, which is kind of cool that we're it's kind of cool. I'm having that conversation. It's kind of cool that you're able to respond to that question, man. What a cool what a cool thought to be able to respond to a question like that. So yeah, so we'll chat, man. It sounds like you got a big summer coming up, and hopefully we can chat again soon, and we got some things coming up too, so we'll get some content pieces together or something.
Okay, sounds good, dude.
All right, buddy. Enjoy. Take care, man.
All right. Yeah.
He's out in my ball and of course so I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross, worst case scenario.